Hi friends, welcome to Get Your Play Online. I'm so thrilled for you to join me today. Today we're going to be doing science, and we have a very fun experiment that's including a lot of sensory materials, and we get to use some of our senses and get to explore with pine cones. So I'm thrilled for you to join me. My name is Sarah. Welcome again to Get Your Play Online, and we're going to get started with listing the materials that you're going to need for today's science experiment. So our science experiment is called Sensory Fun with Pine Cones, and I have a picture here just to show you a little result of what we're going to be doing in our experiment. So we have 3 different pine cones, and they have different materials on them. So for this experiment, you're going to need a space around you that you're able to do surface covering or the tray, or maybe using a box. I'm using a cardboard box that has all my materials in because this experiment does get messy. So you'll definitely want to make sure you could do this in a place where you can get a little messy and have fun. Alright, so the next thing you're going to need are pine cones, and you're going to want to have 3 to 4 pine cones, and they can be any size. You can find them maybe on a nature walk around you if you have pine trees near you, or you can get them at the store. I got mine at a store. All you're going to want to do when you get your pine cones is look and make sure that they are open. So this is an open pine cone, and these little brown things that you see all over the pine cones are called scales. So the scales are open on the pine cone. So you're going to want to make sure that they're open pine cones. You may see some pine cones that the scales are closed, and those will be harder to do in this experiment. Okay, so 3 to 4 pine cones that are open would be great. And then you're also going to want to make sure you have an adult or someone nearby that can help you with some of the materials, just because some of the materials you may find in your kitchen or your laundry room. So it's always best to ask an adult first. Example, we're going to be using some vinegar, white vinegar. So you're going to want to ask your parent or an adult first to if you can use this, as well as maybe helping you pour. You're not going to need a lot. You're going to just want maybe about maybe 1/3 of a cup up to like 2/3. You're not going to need a lot for the science experiment. So again, make sure you ask a parent for that, as well as you're going to want to get some baking soda. And you're just going to need about a spoonful to 2 spoonfuls of baking soda. You can put in a little container. You're going to want to have 2 spoons. We're going to be using one for the baking soda. And then you're going to want to have cinnamon powder. About a spoonful to 2 spoonfuls is all you really need. You can put it in a little container. Then you're going to want to have glitter, and if you don't have glitter, you can use little sequences that you can use. It could be any color, it does not have to be silver. You're going to want to also have orange peels. I have not peeled my orange yet. We'll do that together, but if you already have an adult nearby, maybe they can cut up the orange for you and you can have the peels set to the side. You're not going to need the inside of the orange for this experiment. You can have that later if your parent allows you. Okay, and then you're going to want to have some pom-poms. I have different sizes, a little medium and then small ones. You can use any color, any sizes you have. I'm putting this in a little container. And then if you have, you can use little tongs. These are good for fine motor skills. And then you're going to need some Play-Doh. Again, any color you have at home works. If you don't have Play-Doh, you can use Connect Sand. That works just as well. And then you're going to need a little dropper. And we'll be using this for the vinegar portion. Okay? Alright, so those are all the materials you'll need. You'll also just want to have a washcloth or some wipes, because again, this will get a little messy, and it's always good to just wipe your hands and make sure you can be clean. If you do have allergies to the cinnamon or to the orange, you can always improvise. These two are not required for this experiment. It's just to add some more sensory play. So feel free to be creative. You can get cotton balls or get some more baking soda and use essential oils. Whatever you think of to improvise if you're allergic to those two ingredients or those two materials. Alright, so we're going to get started. So we're going to grab our first pine cone, and I'm going to place it in my tray. And I'm actually going to just use three sensory materials that I listed for this first pine cone. So that's going to be baking soda, our vinegar, our glitter or sequences. So those are the three that you're going to need. So the rest of materials I listed, you can just set them to the side. We'll be using them for the other pine cones. So I'm going to make some room so you can see what happens when we play with our first pine cone. Okay, here we go. So I have my first pine cone, I have my baking soda, I have my glitter, my dropper, and vinegar. So what you're going to want to do for our first pine cone is place it down in your tray or box, and we're going to want to grab our baking soda, and we're going to want to grab some in our spoon, grab a little spoonful, and we're going to want to pour it all over our pine cone. But before we do that, I want us to just take our fingertips and touch the baking soda. And can anyone tell me, how does that feel? Does it feel rough? Or maybe it feels soft? It feels soft, right? So now that you got to feel the texture of the baking soda, you can pour over your pine cone. And you can pour as little or as much as you want. I'm going to cover as much as I can of my pine cone. And what do you think the pine cone, what does it look like to you as you pour the baking soda over your pine cone? To me, it looks like it has snow on it, right? So you may even find some pine cones where you live, depending on where you live, that has some snow on it. So you're going to want to pour the baking soda on the scales, and I'll turn it around so you can see more of the baking soda. There you go. Just rotate, turn your pine cone around. Just like you're adding snow to your pine cone. Alright, and after you added all the baking soda you want to on your pine cone, we're going to add our glitter. Okay? Glitter or sequins, anyone you have. Just going to open this up, and I'm going to hold the very tip of the pine cone just so I can balance it. I'm going to sprinkle it all over the baking soda, and it's making it really sparkle, really shine out. It looks more wintry. So again, I'm just rotating, turning it around. Alright, there we go. So this is what I have so far. We have the baking soda and the glitter. It looks like that side kind of needs a little bit more baking soda, so I'm going to go back and try to fill up the ones that didn't with the baking soda. There we go. Okay, so now we added the baking soda, the sparkles, and now we're going to add our very last material for this pine cone. Now I have to give you a little hint. Something very fascinating is going to happen to this pine cone. So we have vinegar and baking soda. Now those two are chemicals. So with those two being a chemical, they cause a reaction. So we're going to see what type of reaction it's going to do to this pine cone. So you're going to grab your dropper and you're going to squeeze it in the vinegar to fill up your dropper. Let's see, I got some of it filled up, and now I'm going to just squeeze the vinegar on the pine cone, and it's happening very lightly, but if you notice, it's starting to bubble. You'll see bubbles. You'll even hear a sound, like a fizzy sound. So the more vinegar you add everywhere, the more it will bubble. And you'll have a bubbling pine cone. Isn't that cool? And feel free, if you are having a hard time with the dropper, you can add the spoon. Since you're all done with your baking soda, you can just do the spoon if that's easier. Or you can gently and carefully tip over your vinegar for it to get bubbling. Woo! That one slipped. There we go. See, it's always good to have a space where you can get messy, because sometimes things fall or spill. It's always good to be prepared. Alright, so that is our first pine cone, and we had sensory fun with that. So what senses did we use in this first pine cone? For the baking soda, what did we do before we poured it in the pine cone? We touched it with our fingertips, right? So we used our sense of touch. And then when we poured the vinegar over the pine cone, we heard a little fizzy noise. And so we used our sense of hearing. And then also if you poured the vinegar in a cup before this activity, you probably could use your sense of smell as well, right? Because the vinegar, what type of smell does it have? Has it like maybe a sour smell, a little bitter? So you're using some of your senses while doing the science experiment. How cool. Alright, so now that we're done with our first pine cone, feel free to just leave it in the box. You can have fun with it later if you want to add some more glitter or do the bubbling effect again. It's really cool when the vinegar and the baking soda cause a reaction. Alright, so we're going to grab a second pine cone. And again, your pine cones can be any size. Mine are kind of big and medium, but whatever pine cones you find, you can use. So for this pine cone, we are going to use our pom-poms. So feel free to just dump out your pom-poms in a little container. If you're using the tongs, it will make it easier for you to grab them. And then we're going to be using our Play-Doh or Connect Sand. Okay, so for this one, we're using 2 materials. And we're going to open our Play-Doh. And again, I want you to kind of just feel the Play-Doh or Connect Sand, whichever one you have, in your hands. How does it feel in your fingertips? Is it sticky? Is it soft? Is it maybe a little crummy? I'm using Connect Sand so it falls easily apart. Maybe you can even roll it in your hands. So for this one, this pine cone, we are going to use the Play-Doh or Connect Sand wrapping our pine cone. So we are going to put it inside the scales. Remember, all these brown pecks are called the scales. It's part of the pine cone. So you can grab tiny spots of Play-Doh, or you can make little loops and wrap it around, but we're just going to push it inside the pine cone. And you can put as little or as much as you want. You're decorating your pine cone. And for this pine cone, if you have maybe pipe cleaners or beads or cotton balls, ribbon, feel free to use that. And then, did you know that pine cones have an important role? They really do. They come from pine trees, right? Pine cones come from pine trees. And the pine cones have seeds in them. Now, these ones don't have seeds, but sometimes if you find a pine cone on the ground, you can hear the seeds. And the seeds are usually really inside the scales. And those seeds is what makes other pine trees, and so more pine trees make more pine cones. So the important rule that the pine cones have is that they keep the seeds safe during the winter, during the cold. They actually close up. Remember how we were talking in the beginning that you may find some pine cones that are closed? So when they're closed, they're keeping the seeds safe. And when they're open, they usually open in the warm time, in the warm temperatures. So the seeds can then fall out outside and grow into more pine trees. And pine cones you probably see, or you're going to see, especially during this season, as maybe decor. People use them for wreaths, or people use them to even just smell good in the house. Because sometimes pine cones can give a bark smell, like almost like the trees, maybe cinnamony, or the pine needles. Alright, so once you're done stuffing your pine cone with Play-Doh or the Connect sand, putting as much as you want, you can go ahead and take your tongs and you can grab your pom-poms and place them on top of your scales. Let's see, where do you think they're balanced on your scale? And again, you can put as many, as little. So far I have 3 pom-poms. I wonder how many pom-poms can fit on your pine cone. Let's see. We have 4. Oops, that one fell. 5, 6. The scales really help balance the pom-poms. And again, if you're adding other sensory items to this pine cone, to your second pine cone, feel free to take pictures so you can post it in the comments later. I'd love to see them. And again, you can rotate and turn your pine cone by touching the top tip of your pine cone. So I think I have about 8 different pom-poms. Kind of looks like lights, huh, on my pine cone, the colorful ones. So for this pine cone, we're using our sense of touch. We touch the Play-Doh and Connect sand. For the smaller pom-poms, it's probably easier if you just use your fingertips and place them on. Let's see, could you get a pom-pom in every one of your scales? Could you do that? Maybe you can even put a timer on and see how fast you could cover up the pom-pom, cover up the pine cone with the pom-poms. So there we go. So here is my second pine cone. That we had fun with the Play-Doh and the pom-poms. And then if you had extra sensory items such as ribbon, beads, pipe cleaners, you can definitely play with those on this pine cone. Alright, so now that our second pine cone is done, we're going to move on to our third pine cone. So for our third pine cone, we are going to need a cinnamon. And again, remember, if you have allergies to this cinnamon or the orange, you can improvise. You don't need to use these materials. You can use essential oil on the baking soda. You can use cotton balls. You can think of maybe apple peels you can do. Okay. So I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see it better. There we go. Okay. So for this third one, we're going to take our cinnamon powder, and I want you to just take it up to your nose a little bit and sniff a little bit of the cinnamon. How does that smell? What smell do you smell of the cinnamon powder? Does it smell sweet? Does it smell a little bit of a spice? Maybe a little bit of both, right? Yeah. Cinnamon powder is a spice, and it's used for baking or making things sweet. So we're going to take a little spoonful, and we're going to just pour it over our pine cone. Again, just like how we did for our first pine cone. Just pour as much as little. You're going to want to cover the scales. And now if you remember the first pine cone when we poured the baking soda over, it kind of reminded us of snow, right? Winter. Now this one, you won't see the cinnamon powder that boldly because the cinnamon powder is the same color as the pine cone, but you'll see a lighter shade of brown on your pine cone. So once you poured as much cinnamon powder, we can now start peeling the orange. If you already have your orange peeled, great. You can start taking the peels and you can either rip them up more to fit around your pine cone, or you can stuff them in your scales. I'll show you right now what I mean by that. I'm going to just peel. And can you smell as you're peeling the orange? The citrus juices to the orange. Alright, so I just peeled, it can be different sizes, and I'm just going to fit it in between the scales. I'm placing the outside of the peel down on the scale and the inside up, just so the aroma of the citrus can really fill up our senses. So again, they can be any size. You may have to tear up your peels if you have a smaller pine cone to fit in between. And again, just a reminder that we're not using the inside of the orange, so feel free to place that off to the side. So what senses are we using for this third pine cone? Are we using our sense of taste? No. Maybe later if you save the orange part. But what about our sense of smell? We use that, right? We smell the citrus of the orange, cinnamon, spicy. Our sense of touch. We're peeling the orange or placing the peels in the pine cone. Using our sense of sight. We're using our eyes to see where we can place the peels and pour the cinnamon powder. Okay, so if you are going to eat your orange, make sure you don't place it down in the box. Put it off to the side. And then there we go. We have our orange peels all over our pine cone. And now this one, you're probably smelling that fresh aroma of the cinnamon powder and the orange peels. It really gives like a fall sense of smell. So now we have our 3 pine cones. So we have them completed. We had our first one, we had our second, and our third one. So let's reflect a little bit. Which one was your favorite? Which one did you have fun with using the sensory items the most? Was it the first one, the second, the third? My favorite one, I would say, was the first one. I really liked how when we used the baking soda and the vinegar and even the sparkles, that it added that reaction of fizziness and it bubbled. It was really cool. And now for our senses for these experiments, we used our sense of smell, we used our sense of touch, we used our sense of maybe hearing for the first one, and then our sense of sight. So the only sense we didn't use was our sense of taste, right? All right. So feel free to continue exploring. You can even find different sensory items and add to your pine cone and see how that looks or what happens. You're going to want to just make sure you clean up. So once you're all done playing with your pine cones, to throw away the orange peels and to have a parent help you maybe put away the vinegar, baking soda, those type of items. Okay, so again, just make sure you clean your hands if you're going to eat that orange. And it was so much fun having fun with you with our pine cones today. I hope you enjoyed it. I will post the flyer that has the supplies, and you can do this with a friend or another time. And feel free to post your pine cones. I would love to see how they turned out and what you did to them. And I hope you guys join us back at 3 p.m. We're going to have another fun activity today with Nick. So feel free to come back and have some more fun. All right, guys. Take care. Nice seeing you. Bye-bye.